You, my friends, are listening to Dad Crossing, the Dad Life episode. We're going to be talking about experiential learning. And so I'm kind of excited to kind of learn a little bit more about this and also have a little chat about it. I can tell you where I do the best to do experiential learning is whenever somebody's trying to teach me anything on the computer. They're always like, they got the screen and they're always trying to show you. I'm like, can we just skip this part and let me just click buttons? Because that's where I'm going to learn. Like, I need to experience the software to know what I'm doing. You can tell me all day long what button to click. Ain't gonna mean nothing to me.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm a learn by doing.
Mm-hmm.
Very much and I like the term that you used last week with the type A, B, or C parenting. The F around and find out.
That's right, yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, yeah, that's usually where I'm like, listen, if I click buttons, am I going to screw anything up? And they're like, no, probably not. I'm like, all right, just let me click buttons. I get there. Don't worry about it.
Yep. Have a go.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the same at work. When I was not when I was initially learning at Egg, but when I was at the last power station, I was like really worried. But then because I didn't understand the safety systems behind things, people are like, "Hey, you're not worried about pressing the wrong thing on the screen?" I'm like, "Nope. If I press the wrong thing and it does the wrong thing, it'll protect itself. It'll be fine."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think it's a really powerful way to learn. I mean, definitely for sure. And is this true? It seems like it's a more boy way to learn. I don't know if that's true. I just might be a boy, and that's.
But... it's better for people with a neurodiversity. So people, especially with autistic traits, are going to enjoy this kind of involvement in breaking things down, understanding how they work, and putting them back together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why I like it. I love the process input, the input process output of my job, or anything like that. I like taking things apart, seeing if I can fix it, probably breaking it more than it was already broken, but understanding why I did that, and then buying the parts that I need to replace the bits that I know and put it all back together. But then I know for next time, I'm like, I remember this, I remember that, and I did this. So I had the experience, I reflected on that, I learned something, and then I can apply it to something else, or I can talk to somebody else through it at a later date. So
yeah.
And that's the idea behind it. It's like sitting in schools, and I know a lot more schools are starting to do this kind of thing, is rather than like open your textbooks to this page, follow me as I talk through this. This is an example. This is, and it can kind of really bore you and draw you away from it. So I know a lot more teachers are taking to the, we're going to do this. We're going to explain how, how weights at different places can affect how an object spins. So, sit a kid on a spinning chair in the classroom and get them to hold two weights. Just spin them slowly with their arms wide. And then as they slowly bring their arms in, they're going to get faster because the center of gravity and the center of mass is in the middle. So physics says it's going to spin faster. So it doesn't take as much inertia. So, and you can teach them that by doing. And then they'll always remember, this has that effect.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, and I think it's important as parents, and I have been kind of guilty of this at times, of like reining kids in for issues that don't really matter, and having them not find out experimentally, right? Like, so I can't think of an exact example right now, but let's just say cooking, right? So like if your kid wants to try cooking and it may not turn out, but it's also not the end of the world if, it's not perfect or it's not even good, then it's like, okay, well, what did we do wrong? Well, how do we fix it? How do we do it better next time, right? Instead of trying to control the entire environment so that they don't get to learn and they're just kind of following steps or whatever. Or they get worse off, they get pushed completely out of it, right?
Yeah, and it's there's ways of doing that. You can get them to come in and help you in terms of, right, we need this much of this, we need this much. And so like they're learning to then use the scales and like how like you've got the fine motor movements for like pouring flour, because
Mm-hmm.
we all know if you start pouring flour, you give it too much, like it's just gonna, it ends up everywhere.
Yeah.
So it's the fine motor skills of that kind of thing, which is great for toddlers. We don't have toddlers; we have kids that are more older, so they already have the fine motor skills. So it's more the, you know, you need to weigh this much, and then you need to reset the scales, and like, you know, scales have this option where you can tear them. So you add 50 grams of something and then press the tear button, it takes it back to zero, so you don't need to keep adding it up. I mean, you can add it up if you want, but what kind of sadist does it when you have a button that does it for you? But yeah, it's that. And cooking's one of those things where if something starts to go wrong, you can stop it.
Yeah.
Like you can pause it, you can turn the heat off, and you'll be like, right, why did that boil over? Why do you think we did? And like, you've turned the heat off, and this is what you do. If it starts to boil over and you're in a panic, just turn the heat off. And you know, milk will not boil over, pasta won't boil over, potatoes won't all boil over, and everything like that. So you can take something away, and we can fix it, or stop it from making a big mess. And that's a learning thing for them. So, and it's DIY projects at home, like fixing things. As a kid, I always helped my dad. So if we had to repair something on the car, or if, you know, he was, you know, servicing the car kind of thing, I was out there with him. 9 times out of 10, I wasn't doing it right. Or 9 times out of 10, I wasn't holding the torch right. But, you know, I think that was more his frustration and not being able to fix the problem than it was me actually holding the light, and I was just there to be blamed. But I'm trying to have the same approach with all of my kids. Like with Jaya, I taught how to wire up a plug, and I'll do the same for Emily soon, because it's a great skill to have, especially now she's living on her own. She hasn't. I mean, 9 times out of 10 now, you don't replace the plug; you just buy another cable, because everything's like USB-C and stuff like that. But you know, there's still things like, you know, kettles, microwaves, extension leads and stuff like that. If for whatever reason it becomes damaged, don't buy a new extension lead, just cut the cable and remake it. It might be a bit shorter, but you can still use it. It saves money, especially if you're a student like Jay is.
Yep.
But like the doors in the house that we have, the handles sometimes come loose. They're just held together with Allen keys inside. But to get them, you have to take the entire handle unit off the door to get to the Allen key part. So Emily's was rattling a little bit. It's through years of Logan swinging on it as a toddler. And the hinges were creaking. So I was like, come, we'll go out to the garage and I'll tell you, like, we'll fix this. We'll sort this together. It's like in the garage, and they have like various sprays. I was like, we're going to use this one. And this will stop the squeaking. And she's like, why will it stop the squeaking? So, well, it's a silicon-based lubricant. So we'll spray it on. It cleans out any crud that's in there and leaves behind just like a little bit of like a silicon jelly, like a plasticky jelly film. So that lubricates it, so it'll stop squeaking. It cleans out the dirt at the same time as lubricating. It's great stuff. So we'll bring that in. I brought the tools in, put them down, and she was like, okay, what do I do? But we'll have a look and just figure it out. So she figured out how to unscrew the caps off the door handles, took them out, and I was like, right, so you need this bit and this bit, put these together, and, you know, take the screws out. And she did it. She, with some guidance, she took the entire door handles apart. And I was like, okay, so now to repair like the bit that's actually needed, we'll need these other tools, which are called Allen keys. And she asked me why they're called Allen keys. I don't know. I just said a guy called Allen invented them, but I wasn't entirely sure about that. But it's just, that's what they're called. And we put it all back together. The door doesn't squeak. The handles don't rattle. She fixed it. She did it. And I was like, how do you feel about if I was to say do that on your own? She's like, no, I'm not sure, but at least we've already done it once. I was like, exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's a skill to have. Being able to just apply something to something is a great skill to have. Like, I'll try my hand at repairing most stuff around the house. If I get defeated by that, then I'll ring a guy. But when the guy comes, I'm watching and I'm asking questions, and I'm like, so.
Yeah, you know,
because I'm not paying you £90 to come out and not teach me something.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly what I was going to say. You know, I mean, if she doesn't know how to do that, and she has no idea how to replace that door handle, and she doesn't have the confidence to at least try because she's never had that before, that's going to cost her $80 a handle, probably, to get that done. So, for a stupid door handle, which is like crazy easy, really. So to get a locksmith out there and do it, though, that's what you're gonna probably pay. So yeah, it's funny. Like my job is all about experiential learning. Like it's when I work for Habitat, when Habitat is at its best, that's what it's about. It's about getting people on a job site who are probably a little like, I don't entirely do this, and you show them some aspect of building. Like, so right, we're building ramps. So they're out there, they're building this ramp. They've never done it before, but you have a guy that's guiding them and making sure that everything is, working out as well as possible. Every once in a while we have some miscuts. But then they're done. In fact, we have a whole team. We have a whole company team that has come out and done it 3 times for us now. And you know what they're doing next week? They're building a ramp. We're not involved. They're going to build a ramp for like one of their employee members. It has nothing to do with Habitat anymore. This lady just needed a ramp, and they're like, sure, we've done this 3 times. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's really good look, because it's giving to, like, I know it's like giving back to the community as well. So.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's like, there's a, I mean, I don't know the Bible, but you know it better than me. There's a Bible quote that if you teach a man to fish, he can feed himself forever. But if you're just providing with the food, there's that aspect of it. It goes all the way back that far. So, and that's kind of what you've done. You've shown people how to build the ramp. They can now go out and build ramps for more people.
Yep. So yeah, that kind of stuff. But I will say, like, going back to parenting, I think the biggest part of parenting is giving kids the ability to screw up. I think that I will cop to. Sometimes that's tough for me to give them that ability, or to give them that ability to maybe get, not like drastically injured, but, if it goes wrong, it might hurt. And so to give them that space, right?
Here, Noah, here's the circular saw.
yeah, that's right.
This might hurt a little.
Yeah. Yeah. He now has 7 fingers. Noah can only count to 7 now. Poor chap. But yeah, I do think that is a bit of a difficulty. And as you point out, it's also like a thing of like, well, when is that experiential learning gone too far, right? Like when are you like, oh, okay, that didn't work out very well, and now he only has 7 fingers. I guess maybe I shouldn't have let that happen.
Yeah, again, that's down to your own kind of judgment on things, isn't it? Like I wouldn't dream of giving Logan a power tool at the moment, because I know he's not great with the. He'd see a power tool and be excited and want to use it, and he'd end up just putting a hole in something somewhere. It's like, then we'd have to learn how to fix that. But it's, you could just create yourself more side quests rather than completing the main quest on that one.
Yep.
But Emily, I'd give Emily a drill and be like, right, we're gonna mount this picture frame, and we have to drill holes. We're gonna have to put plugs in the walls so the screws will hold. We have spirit levels. We've got tape measures, stuff like that. So let's do it. Well, let's measure bits. Let's get things done, and we'll put it all up. So I do that.
Yeah. I've let Noah play with the drill for a good long time. Like with this, like with a Phillips bit in it, not with a drill bit.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Not with a drill bit. I'll give him like a bunch of screws and let him go to town on like a 2x4 for a while. That obviously doesn't like that anymore. He's like, I don't care about this anymore, Dad. But when he was younger, he cared about it. And so, yeah. But now he does. He does like to hammer 2 pieces of wood together. I don't even know why. I'll give him a handful of nails, and I'm like, "Go for it, buddy. You can do that." And I'm just like, "There you
go." Just hammering away in the garden.
Yep.
But it's things like repairing bikes.
Oh yeah, big one.
Yeah, I've got a flat tire. Okay, fix it. I don't know how. Let's go learn how to fix a puncture on a bike. I mean, that was one of the first things I ever learned as a kid was putting a chain back on with a derailleur and everything, and like not trying to get your fingers caught. So I can remember doing that. My dad showing me, and then I knew. And Now, and my dad's shown me pretty much when it comes to all my repair stuff for cycling, like straightening wheels if they slightly buckle by tightening the spokes, and just like sticking something to the frame so you can watch how much the rim moves away from it and moves back, and then you know where to tighten it and stuff. I learned that from my dad. Split links on chains to replace broken chains. Learned that from my dad. So, and then my entire career has been based on experiential learning. So my apprenticeship was here is a file, here is a hacksaw, and here are 2 square bits of metal. Remove the center of both of these, the center of these squares. One has to be an X and one has to be a square. And then they have to slide back in, like precision fit. But all you have is a hacksaw and a file. Off you go. I can remember doing that, and like all the way up to the point where I was using lathes, and I've made stud pullers for flywheels, and I've made my own little vise and stuff on a milling machine, and I learned how to weld, and I learned how to, when I was doing electrical fitting, it was 19th edition, which I don't think it is the 19th edition anymore, but like full on installation of distribution boards and stuff like that, all done by just being given the stuff in front of me and saying, have at it, go. And it's like, okay. Like I can remember my first rigging and slinging course at 16 years old, and it was an old power station nearby to here, where they have a training center, and they had a set of IP blades for a turbine. We're talking like the best part of 9.5 ton, 3.2 meter long blades on a massive shaft, and they were like, "You're gonna lift that up today?" And I was like, "What? with what? With this overhead crane?" I have never used a crane before in my life. Well, here's the controls. Here's all the rigging and slinging equipment. Go about it. And it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I mean, to be fair, like in the world we live in, you don't really know how to do something until you've done it, right? Like even if you've done all the even if you've read about the thing in like 20 books, that doesn't mean anything until you actually do it. Like, so in my field, we have a thing is like, does he got a license or is he a builder? This is a common question, right? The guy can have a license. That's great. I could have a builder's license. FYI, I'm not a builder. Okay? That's not what I am. I'm a project manager. That's like overall what I do. I'm not a builder. Could I have a builder's license? For sure I could. I could go and do the test and study hard enough and get a builder. That don't mean I should build a house, right? Like that doesn't mean that I know how. That doesn't mean I'm going to go out and be like, I'm going to build myself a house. No, I've never done it. I don't know how to do it. Doesn't mean I couldn't learn if I wanted to kind of apprentice, is not what it's called, but kind of like work under somebody and learn how to do that. Sure. But like, yeah, you don't, like what you're saying is very true. You don't know how to really do something until you actually do it. So it's like, you got to give your kids the space to learn the things appropriately that they need to learn. And the other thing is you have to start recognizing, and I'm dealing with this to be fair. Like I'm slowly like starting to realize like, oh, okay, no, we need to give Noah the space to learn how to do that. You need to let your kids grow as they get older, right? And that space for different things needs to grow as they grow. So it's like, yeah, what something you're not going to let them do when they're 6, maybe it's time to give them the ability to do that when they're 9 or something like that.
Yeah. Because they don't understand the trial and error process at a younger age.
Yeah.
They'll just keep, they are the definition of insanity. They will keep doing the same thing and expect a different outcome. It's once they grasp that, well, I've tried this once, it didn't work, I'm going to try a different approach. Trial and error then comes in and they kind of understand it. So,
yep.
But yeah. I mean, for me, you can link experiential learning as well to being a father. Like, kids don't come out with an instruction book. You'll have only learned how to change a diaper on potentially a dummy or, somebody else has a kid, and like you watch them change a diaper, and you're like, oh, fine, I can do this. Like I can remember the day that Emily was born. I was like 20 odd years old. I'd only changed one nappy on somebody, and like after the point she was born, her mum needed to go to surgery, and they kind of like just wheeled her mum out, left me in there with this like naked baby in a really warm, stuffy delivery room with, well, it looked like a scene from The Walking Dead all over the floor. I'd been awake for nearly 30 hours at that point because, typically Emily decided to try and turn up on a Saturday morning, and I'd been at work from like 6 a.m. for the hospital. She wasn't born until like the following morning when we'd been at the hospital. And like I'm sat there and I'm like, right, okay, what do I do first?
Mm-hmm.
And I got on with it. Like the midwife came in at one point while I was still trying to do this diaper up, and I got it on the back to front. But she kind of laughed at me and said, "You've got that on backwards. It's a lot easier if you do it this way around." And I was like, yeah."
Mm-hmm.
And Emily was too small for all the baby grows that we'd bought, so I was like trying to put her into what I could only describe as a huge duvet for her. So like, the midwife showed me like, yeah, you can. We see this a lot. People underestimate how small or how big the baby's going. You can roll these up like this.
Mm-hmm.
So she taught me how to do it, but then from that point on, everything is like experimental. Your kid's teething. What do you do for a teething child? You read on blogs and you read on the internet. Well, try this, try this, try this, and you work out what works best for your kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Trial and error.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. I had never changed a diaper before Noah. Never.
Wow.
Yep. Never happened. I had never done it. And I was like, well, here we go. And can I say this is the other thing that I will say if we're moving on to like how this affects dads. You guys really have to like set down the pride on this instance, because I think a lot of guys are not used to at that, especially depending on what age they are, being like taught those kind of things, right? Like,
yeah.
And so you really have to just be like, listen, you have to go with the flow. I don't know what I'm doing here, and that's okay. You showed up, you're there. That's the thing that matters. And it's really once somebody shows you, it's not that hard. Like, you'll figure it out. But let somebody teach you something, And I think, like, I tell that to Noah all the time. Like, stop arguing with your teacher or your coach or whatever. They know what they're doing. Just learn from them. Like, he's not yelling at you. Okay, maybe he's yelling at you, but he's just trying to teach you what you need to do, because he's yelling not because you're not doing the right thing, but you're not even listening to try to do the right thing. So it's like,
yeah,
as much as you're going to want your kids to be teachable when the time comes, like maybe they're babies and that's not a thing right now, but at some point you're going to want them to be teachable. You should be teachable at that point in time too. And sometimes I think dads don't like to do that.
That was one of the best lessons my dad actually taught me, was that, especially going into the trading industry I was in, says if anybody's there that's trying to tell you how to do something or stop you from doing it, listen to them, because they know better than you. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that can be tough. I think maybe not for all guys, but for some guys, it can be tough to just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, again, it all depends on your age and your mindset.
I think that's true.
By the time I was having my first kid, I'd finished my apprenticeship and I was a fitter. I'd learn by listening and by doing, and I'd learned the lesson of, if I'm unsure, ask. So I'm never afraid to like ask.
Right.
Even now, still doing what I'm doing now. There's things that there's tasks and stuff like that, and bits and pieces, and that I've not done, that I have an idea, but I'm not 100%. So I will grab a colleague, or I will go and ask one of the the technicians for help, and be like, can you just tell me where this is and what I'm going to be doing with it and how it needs to be left and sort of stuff. Because at the end of the day, I don't want to get it wrong, because I have roles and responsibilities that can be taken away from me. But also, if I get something wrong, I can really hurt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
it's kind of, I don't want to learn that lesson, because going to court and then potential prison time, never fun.
Yeah. Has there ever been
But
a time with your
yeah,
kiddos where you implemented experiential learning and you were like, "Oh, that probably maybe shouldn't have. Maybe they weren't ready for that."
uh, yeah. When I taking like teaching Logan how to control his speed on a bike, so he had a really cool balance bike, had brakes. I was like trying to teach him how to use the brakes, and we'd done like little tiny hills and stuff near us, things like that. So I took him up to the woods, and he was like doing the like little things, and he was putting his feet down and braking at the same time. Like, dude, don't put your feet down. If you put your feet down, especially on this kind of terrain, all it takes is for like your foot to hit a twig or something like that, and you're going to either break an ankle, or it's going to stop you quicker on one side and it's going to flip you off.
Hmm.
So, and then he saw this really, I want to go down this hill. I was like, I don't really think you're ready for that because, you're still putting your feet in it. No, I want to go down it. I was like, okay, you've got a helmet on. Off you go. So he pushed his back all the way up this hill. Awesome. Set off, full blast. Didn't put his feet down. Didn't pull his brakes. Massive speed wobble. Came off, flipped over the handlebars, rolled around in loads of mud and leaves and stuff, and came to a stop on his face. The kid was like covered in dirt and everything like that, and then crying, and it was all stuck over. So it was like I had to explain to Lindsay that he came off, and she was like, "Why did you let him do that?" I was like, "Well, he was persistent on it, and I told him
told me to.
otherwise." And I warned him, and I tried to catch him, but he was going pretty fast, and he wasn't listening to me telling him to brake. So experiential learning, big hill, gravity is not your friend.
Yeah. The one.
How about you? Have you had like similar?
The one time I can think, and this actually is like really small, but it could have really hurt him. I didn't realize how heavy these things were. We have these like trifold picture frames. They stand almost like 5 feet tall, and it's kind of like I don't know how to explain it. They're like the things that almost like can split a room, you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like a
except it's
corrugated
not.
divider.
Yeah, something like that. Except it's not that big, and we just kind of have it set, and we put pictures in it, and blah blah whatever. And it's about 5 foot tall, and I don't know, probably about 3 feet wide or something. And Noah kept messing with it. I kept telling him, "Don't mess with it. Do not mess with that. Stop. Don't touch it." Okay. And finally, I was like, you know what? I was like, let's see what happens. That thing was heavier than I thought it was. I mean, I was really glad it missed him. It missed him, but barely. And when it hit the ground, I was like, "Oh crap, that was a lot heavier than I like. If it would have hit him, it would have hurt. It would have hurt a lot. I bet. I mean, I was like, that's the one thing that I can remember. I'm like, you know what? Fine, you're not gonna listen to me. You're gonna find out. And when I said that, I really didn't think that it would be like as heavy as it was. And he touched it, and it was kind of wobbling, and then it went, and then man, when it hit the ground, it was like, boom, and I was like, oh. And of course, he immediately was like, it was like, okay, not because it hit him, just because it freaked him out.
Yeah.
So
see,
yeah.
I'll talk to my mum about, I'm trying to stop him from doing this, and I'm trying to stop Logan from doing this, and he keeps doing this, and she's like, well, I did it with you when you were a kid, and she takes great pride in it. She's like, can you not remember the iron story? And I'm like, yes. She's like, I kept telling you, don't touch that iron, it's hot. Don't touch that iron, it's hot. Don't touch that. And she said, after about the 5th or 6th time of me telling you, I was like, you can touch it. You soon won't touch it again. And this iron was on because she was ironing, and I just put the full palm of my hand straight on the base of the iron. I can remember at that point as a kid. It's one of the very earliest memories that I can remember of is the sound of my heartbeat in my ears because of the pain and the crying.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was and I can remember as a kid dreaming of and like it being the Marshmallow Man walking down the back of my mum and dad's garden. That's one of the weirdest like first memories I've ever had.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
It's funny. Like I feel like our parents, our grandparents, they did more. They were more like open with the experience. My mom, so the old Christmas lights, like the big fat bulbs, they used to.
Oh yeah, they get really hot.
Yeah, used to get really hot. The story is, obviously, I wasn't around. My mom would try to go up and touch it, and so my grandmother was like, "Don't touch it, don't touch it, don't touch it." And then finally, she was like, "Fine," and she went to touch it, and she just wrapped her hand around it, and she was like, "There you go." Yeah. And then she was just like, I don't know. Like, definitely there was more willingness back then to be like, well, you're going to figure it out now. There, have at it.
Yeah. I can remember when I had come out of my time as an instrument fair, and I used to look after the oxygen measuring probes. And there are a zirconia tip that sits in the end of this thing. So as oxygen passes through it, it gives a millivolt output inversely proportional to how much oxygen's there. I remember that because it was ingrained into my head.
Yeah.
I'm
just trying to keep up with what you're saying. I'm not going to lie.
And so basically, it was like a stainless steel ring with a ceramic cone, and then the very tip of it was made of zirconia. You know, like the fake crystal.
Okay,
stuff.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it allowed a certain amount of oxygen to pass through it, and it gave a millivolt output. And then we measured that millivolt output, and we could tell how much oxygen's in the air while it's in the furnace. So, but this thing at the end, for it to activate and work, needed to be 600 degrees Celsius. So it had its own little like heating jacket and coil and everything, like basically an oven on the end of this really long lance. It was like 2.5 meter long lance. And I was teaching the apprentice about him, and I was like, so telling him that, you know, it gets to like 600 degrees, the tip of this thing will measure at 600 degrees. And the electronics warm it up, monitor that, and then once it's at 600, it starts to record. So we were testing it, and it wasn't working. So like we had to strip it down. We had to stick it out while it was still really, really hot. So like I big oven mitt on, took the end of this probe off, and like sat it down on the desk. And I was like, whatever you do, don't touch that. It's around 500 degrees. It's starting to cool rapidly, but it's still in. He went, what this? And just grabbed the end of it. And it smelled like pork was cooking in the workshop. And he took his fingers off, and like his fingertips were instantaneously white. And I was just like, you're 16. How old was he at that point? He was, 16. You're 16 years old, and you didn't listen to me say that is 500 degrees Celsius. Yeah. I was like, nah.
Oh man!
It honestly, it was that hot. I don't think he actually felt pain. It just done.
Oh,
so
yeah. I bet he did. I bet he did after a while, though.
So come on, let's get you to the sink. Run that underwater. We'll take you down to the first aid. Idiot. So I actually went for that same apprentice a couple of weeks ago. Went for a curry with him and a couple of the other technicians that I used to work with, and it was really nice to see him.
We were like, "Hey, this smells like your finger." The one time, remember that?
No, I wouldn't say that, because it's just the amount of barrage of different things his fingers could smell of would come out, and nobody wants that. So,
all right, that took a turn. Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, there's lots of different ways how this kind of learning can be applied.
It is. There is.
Like I took Logan out to show him how to plug an electric car in and set it charging, because he's going to have to know at some point. I mean, if it carries on going this way, all cars are going to be electric. He's going to have to learn. So, you know, it's exactly the same as a kid. You learn how to pump gas.
Yeah.
From your parents.
I was just going to say that. I have taught Noah how to pump gas. It was probably a pointless endeavor.
Yep. One of the other ones is like who to ring in an emergency and how to do it. That's a really good one to teach them from a young age, because anything can happen to you as a parent in the house. You can fall, you can get an electric shock while you're trying to do some DIY, and you know, there's so many stories of like people turning up and the kid just kind of being there and a parent dead because the kid didn't know to do anything, didn't know any different, just sat there and was like poking at the parent like, wake up.
Yeah.
But you know, to ring for you guys 911, for us it's 999. Teach them how to do that. So there's lots of stuff. The list is endless. I mean, with video games, me and Logan play Fortnite. He didn't know how to play Fortnite, and he wasn't great at it when he first started, but now he kind of understands. And so that process of gaining experience from doing something can be applied to everything
right
around them.
Video games is almost all experiential learning. Like,
Yeah, it is.
I mean, there's some like reading and learning and figuring out, but for the most part, it's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna experiential learn. Just like you, Sean, in Elden Ring, you learned by experience how to kill that cat.
Yeah. Yeah, and get rid of it. Get rid of the game
Yep.
when it's all.
And now,
So,
good news for you, you'll be able to play it on Switch too.
Yay. But no, I mean, there's also the thing of don't treat the two genders of children differently from things. Like, if I'm going to teach Logan how to top up oil on a car or check this on a car, I'm going to teach Emily the exact same. I know for a fact that I'll still get the phone call of, Dad, how do you do this? Because I still ring my mum now when it comes to like cooking things, or I ring my dad when it comes to like something that's gone wrong, and I'm like, look, this has happened. Why is it happening?
Mm-hmm.
And my dad will be like, in fact, my dad's now to the point where I'm at 38 and he's 62. He's like, they've got Google for this. Oh, why don't you ask Siri? And it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to ring you. So you might not be here for many, many, many more years after this.
That's
like,
right.
I want as much information and be able to talk to you as much as possible.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, that's a good point for sure about the genders. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, there's no, for me, there is no such thing as a pink and a blue job in this house. So everything can be done by everybody. So I work with, I've had female apprentices when I've worked in places. I've worked with a female in my current role and current job until she went and had a child. So, it's, it can be applied. In fact, we had a respect in the workplace workshop with a company called Steps Drama, who touched on a lot of these. They were doing scenarios in front of us and then stop the scenario and ask us how they should react next. It was the way it was portrayed to us was sounding like it was going to be absolute garbage, but actually doing it was pretty good. And they touched on a lot of gender issues and stuff like that in terms of discrimination in the workplace and bits and pieces like that. But I was like watching them and they were like, so how do you guys feel about this? And some people who, because it was a mixture of like maintenance guys, operations guys, and then office people. And some of them are like, well, this is a male orientated workplace. So, it's, we wouldn't get that. And so I'm sat there thinking, I thought that was bang out of order. It's, I know there's women out there that can do more than I can with things. So, but yeah, can't treat the children. I wouldn't want Emily to be stuck at the side of the road with a flat tire, not knowing how to put the spare wheel on.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Dangerous place to be.
Yep. So. For sure. Then they gotta, and especially if they can't ring somebody or something like that, and then they gotta ask somebody, and who knows where that's gonna go. And so
yeah.
Yep.
Jeffrey Dahmer style.
Wow. I mean, okay, I wasn't going a good route. I understand that, but you went like way south. So that's fair. That's fair. I wasn't going anywhere good with it. I totally admit that. Sean went all the way to Jeffrey Dahmer. Oh man, that's there you go. All right, man, we're at 38 minutes. I think we're about time to wrap this sucker up.
Yeah. So there's lots of stuff that we could touch on that we haven't in this episode, but book smarts is great. It's good to have the academic smarts behind you in terms of stuff. The fundamentals of theories behind things is great. But then when a lot of practicality in life is something you're actually going to have to do, fail and retry, experience it, come away, ask questions, reflect, go back and be able to have the ability to do it properly. And for me, that's all what experiential learning is. And I think it's a great way to learn. It's how I learn best. You've said it yourself. It's, if you get your hands on some new software, you don't want somebody standing there and killing you with PowerPoint after PowerPoint of you do this, then you do this. You're like, just give me it as a trial. I'll mess around with it. I'll figure it out. And if I have any issues, I'll come back to you and ask questions.
Exactly.
Do the same with your kids. Obviously, make sure they're safe while doing it. Don't go and hand them a circular saw to chop their own fingers off and stuff like that. But, I think it's great. Noah used to screw bits of wood together and now hammers bits of wood together. I still don't think I trust Logan, but maybe I should. Because am I holding him back? Who knows? Who knows? But yeah, thanks very much for listening. We shall see you next week.
See you later, guys.